In this video, we're going to work on the order of operations and signed fractions. So, thus far, we've learned about the order of operations on integers, we've learned about integers, we've learned about fraction operations, and now we're going to combine all of this knowledge to perform more than one operation in a problem. So remember, in general, first we perform parentheses, then exponents, then any multiplication or division from left to right, then any addition or subtraction from left to right. Okay, we call this PEMDAS, and very important, multiplication and division actually have the same order, but we work from left to right. Same with addition and subtraction. So this doesn't mean multiplication always comes first. It doesn't necessarily. So with our first problem, first we're going to do the subtraction in the parentheses. Okay. So I am going to keep the 1/2 where it is. It's very good to keep all your work going. If you want to do a computation on the side, that's fine, but make sure to keep all the components of the problem lined up as you go, or you could misplace something. Okay, so we have 7/9 minus 8/9. Good news, they have a common denominator. So I'm going to subtract the numerators, keep the denominator. Now we have 1/2 minus, well, this is -1/9. Okay. So now, I'm just going to write here, this is the same as 1/2 minus -1/9. And we can change subtraction to adding the opposite, which is definitely good in this case. When you're subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So I changed subtraction to addition. This was negative, I made it positive. Now we have to perform the addition, and then we're done. So we need to find a common denominator. Notice that 2 and 9, their GCF is 1, so their LCD is just their product divided by their GCF of 1, which is 18. I'm going to do some of this work on the side here. So 1/2 over 18 is 9/18, and 1/9, to write that over 18, I'd multiply by 2, so that's 2/18. So 9/18 plus 2/18 equals 9 plus 2 over 18, which is 11 over 18. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Notice here we have division and multiplication. Okay. Now they have the same order left to right, and the division comes first, so I'm going to do that first. Okay, so let's underline that. Okay. So we're just going to focus on this part of the problem and then write the times 7/2 afterwards, just like here we kept the 1/2 minus while we focused on this. So 9/5 divided by 3/5, I'm going to change that to multiplication and reciprocate the second fraction. Okay. Now notice they're actually both multiplication, so we could perform these in any order we want, but we'll just stick with what we were doing. Work on this multiplication. Okay. Notice there's some common factors that cancel. 5 divided by 5 is 1. This is 1. 3 and 9 have a common factor of 3. So now I have 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. And after dividing these two, we get 3 times 7/2. Now we can perform the next operation. Multiply the numerators, 3 times 7. Multiply the denominators, 1 times 2. And we have 21/2. Okay. Notice this is an improper fraction, but it's completely simplified. 21 and 2 don't have any common factors besides 1. And I'm going to rewrite it as a mixed number. 2 goes into 20 10 times with a remainder of 1, which I put over the divisor. Okay, last problem. Okay, notice the 1/2 is in parentheses. There's nothing actually to do in the parentheses. However, the parentheses are indicating that we are squaring the entire quantity 1/2. Okay, so for this, I'm going to underline this, but I'm going to perform the 1/2 squared on the side. So 1/2 squared means 2 factors of 1/2. So 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. Okay, so I perform the exponent. Now I'm going to write down the whole problem, replacing 1/2 squared with 1/4. So we have 5/3 minus 1/4 times 3/4. Now we still have two operations, subtraction and multiplication. Okay, it's tempting to work from left to right, but subtraction does not come before multiplication. We need to do the multiplication first. Okay, so I'm going to keep the 5/3. I'm going to keep the subtraction sign, and now I'm going to multiply these. So we have 1 times 3 over 4 times 4. Well, that's 5/3 minus 3 over 16. Okay, so we perform the multiplication. So this is done. Now we need to perform the subtraction. We need to find a common denominator. Notice again, 3 and 16 don't have any common factors. So their least common denominator is their product. Okay. So let's write each of them with a denominator of 48. Let's do this in a different color. Okay. So I want to write 5/3 as something over 48. And notice I multiply by 16. So this is 50 and 30, which is 80. So 5/3 is 80 over 48. And 3/16. To write that over 48, I'd multiply by 3. In the numerator and denominator, getting 9 over 48. So now I can create an equivalent expression, replace 5/3 with 80 over 48, minus, replace 3/16 with 9 over 48, subtract the numerators, and we have 71 over 48. Okay. This is an improper fraction. I believe 71 is prime. You can verify that yourself. We should write it as a mixed number. 48 goes into 71 one time, and then it would be 23 left over. So 23 over the divisor of 48. So our result as an improper fraction is 71/48, which is equivalent to the mixed number 1 and 23/48. Notice 23/48 is also simplified. You need to check that. I know that because 23 is prime, but you could verify that if you'd like as well.